The D-Day were the landing operations and associated airborne operations on Tuesday, the 6th of June 1944 of the Allied invasion of Normandy in Operation Overlord during World War II. Codenamed Operation Neptune and often referred to as D-Day, it was the largest seaborne invasion in history. The operation began the liberation of France, and later Western Europe, and laid the foundations of the Allied victory on the Western Front. The Allies failed to achieve any of their goals on the first day. German casualties on D-Day have been estimated at 4,000 to 9,000 men. Allied casualties were documented for at least 10,000, with 4,414 confirmed dead. Museums, memorials, and war cemeteries in the area now host many visitors each year. Blitzkrieg is a term used to describe a method of offensive warfare designed to strike a swift, focused blow at an enemy using mobile, maneuverable forces, including armored tanks and air support, that has the intent to break through the opponent's lines of defense, then dislocate the defenders, unbalance the enemy by making it difficult to respond to the continuously changing front. Stalingrad was one of the most decisive battles on the Eastern Front in the Second World War. The Soviet Union inflicted a catastrophic defeat on the German army in and around this strategically important city on the Volga River, which bore the name of the Soviet dictator, Joseph Stalin. The battle came to an end on February 2, 1943, after the Germans had been encircled by the Soviets and eventually surrendered. The estimated loss of life at Stalingrad varies, but the Modern War Institute puts the death toll at approximately 1.2 million people. The battle is infamous as one of the largest, longest and bloodiest engagements in modern warfare. Paris fell to Nazi Germany on June 14, 1940, 1 month after the German Wehrmacht stormed into France. 8 days later, France signed an armistice with the Germans, and a puppet French state was set up with its capital at Vichy. The fall of Paris during the Second World War was a key moment in French history. It marked the start of the occupation of France by the Germans, and the start of a long and brutal occupation. This period of history is dark and tragic, and saw much suffering. The fall of Paris represents the beginning of a terrible time for France and its people. Many were killed, enslaved, and tortured, and the city was left in ruins. The loss of Paris was truly a tragedy, and its memory still scars the French people today. This point talks about the large amount of content related to World War II. Video games, movies, toys, videos, memes and everything you can think of. It's been done already. What? Don't believe me? Let's see then. Have you seen this before?
Broken this fragile thing now, and I can't pick up the pieces, and I've thrown my words all around, but I can't give you a reason. I feel so broken up, and I give up. I just wanna tell you so you know. Here I go, scream my lungs out and try to get to you. You are my only one. I let go, but there's just no one who gets me like you do. You are my only one.
But now seriously, there is a lot of this type of content. This video itself is proof of it, but in my personal opinion I don't think it's a bad thing, because as long as the Second World War continues to be documented, we prevent history from repeating itself. Kamikaze or divine wind, for its translation, were a suicide bombing tactic used by the Empire of Japan during World War II, in which a pilot would deliberately crash an explosives-laden plane into an enemy warship. About 3,800 kamikaze pilots died during the war, and more than 7,000 naval personnel were killed by kamikaze attacks. The Battle of Berlin was one of the final battles of World War II. It saw the Soviets launch a massive attack against the Nazis and push the Germans out of Berlin. The Battle of Berlin was the culmination of years of hard fighting, and saw many casualties. The battle was a decisive victory for the Soviets and helped to finally end World War II. The Battle of Berlin resulted in the surrender of the German army and the death of Adolf Hitler, by suicide. It was a resounding victory for the Soviet Union and the Allies. The battle took its toll on both sides, however, around 81,000 Soviet Union soldiers were killed and another 280,000 were wounded. The term Foo Fighter was used by Allied aircraft pilots during World War II to describe various unidentified flying objects or mysterious aerial phenomena seen in the skies over both the European and Pacific theaters of operations. Foo Fighters were presumed by witnesses to be secret weapons employed by the enemy, and are usually related to paranormal events, but now they're commonly confused with the band of the same name led by Dave Grohl. I love that band, by the way. The surrender of the Empire of Japan in World War II was announced by Emperor Hirohito on the 15th of August and formally signed on the 2nd of September 1945, bringing the war's hostilities to a close. By the end of July 1945, the Imperial Japanese Navy had become incapable of conducting major operations and an Allied invasion of Japan was imminent. Together with the United Kingdom and China, the United States called for the unconditional surrender of the Japanese armed forces in the Potsdam Declaration on the 26th of July 1945, the alternative being prompt and utter destruction. The surrender put an end to the war and saw a permanent peace treaty between Japan and the Allied powers. In World War II, British soldiers had to make do with a daily ration of 3 sheets of toilet paper. The Americans got 22. A strange fact, but quite unknown. I don't know why this happened, it's not a very well documented fact. A lot of Nazi Germany officers fled to Argentina and the rest of South America after World War II. They escaped to avoid being caught for their war crimes, and lived the rest of their lives in peace. A lot of them died old, without ever being convicted. This happened from 1946 to about 1950. Thus ends this first part. Hope you like it. Please like and subscribe for part 2. Believe me when I tell you there's much more to see.